This is the best of two pros and a cup of Joe with LaVar Arrington, Brady Quinn, and Jonas Knox on Fox Sports Radio.
How the hell are we feeling here on this Friday morning?
Oh, good.
Yeah, feeling great. It's Friday, baby.
Yeah.
Woo. It's Friday.
Yeah.
Feeling a little bit better than Anthony Richardson at this point, or what?
Hey, man, that's unfortunate, but also it's at this point and stage, being in the NFL, that just can't happen. And there's some times where some things will surprise you, but that's one where you go, okay, you got to see the rotation. You got to know what protection you've got. You have to know if there's going to be a potential of a guy being unblocked. And in that case, you know, he's looking left the whole way.
The whole time.
As if he feels like he should be protected. The hard thing is if you look at the right side of the play, in particular the right guard, right tackle, because that linebacker, the off-the-ball linebacker comes, which I would always say, you know, probably take the DN. Don't take the linebacker, but if he felt that he was the first threat, then that's a different story. But he's got to know that it only takes one guy for him to be hot, for him to be essentially in a position where someone's going to hit you. There's going to be a free runner. And he had the flat route, had the spot route, you know, wasn't even looking to that side of the field. But you know that as a quarterback because of rotation of the safeties. You know, usually when the defense, you know, is bringing someone to pressure you or blitz you, they're going to be, you know, replacing the void that's created by that blitzing defender. And the safeties, based on the rotation, they'll tell you. Someone drops down to that vacated spot. And he wasn't looking there. His eyes immediately from the rotation, the safeties, should have taught him to look there. To be like, wait a second, something's up. And then quickly just flick it out to the flat, throw hot, move on to the next play. But instead he gets hurt, and unfortunately that's been the story of his career so far.
Crazy thing is the tackle didn't look either. Nobody looked at the defense end or linebacker, however you want to call him.
He picked up the linebacker. He didn't pick up the end.
Yeah, he did. Nobody looked at him at all. And I don't know. I obviously I defer to you on that. I think you got to be aware of the free guy. I mean, a lot of times these days you gotta be aware, and it's taught. So that's a very common concept, is to teach that we're going to cover off on taking care of the most dangerous guys, you know, the guys closest to you, and in some situations there may be a free rusher, and that free rusher may be a DN or an outside backer. That's, you know, those are the possibilities that are there based upon what the scheme is that, you know, you're running in the play that you're trying to accomplish. It may set something else up, setting that guy free. You sometimes you want him to feel like that's what you want to do, is run to the ball, like, you know, dog's tongue wagging. Like, that's, you want them to feel that because there's something that is being set up. And to not be aware of that, like, I don't think he had to be fast to get to him. I think any speed of player would have been able to get to Anthony and hit him the way he got hit. It just makes you curious, like, okay, it's their first preseason game. Do we just attribute it to that was a miscue and just kind of a, you know, just didn't really give it the attention that he should have? Or is there, you know, I don't want to get into saying is there a bigger issue there, but I mean,
no, there's a bigger issue.
Is there a bigger issue there?
This is the norm for his career.
Well, the norm in him getting hurt, but the problem is, and this is what I'll say is, this is how I got my shot to start. This exact scenario, as far as a quarterback not recognizing when there's pressure, how to handle pressure and blitzes. Now, I mean, look, I'll give Baltimore some credit. They kind of disguised it. They, you know, if you look at the offensive line, they're sliding out to really the nickel slot because the safety's capped over top of them. It gives you every indication that, you know, that guy could potentially blitz. And then at the snap of the football, the safety rotates back to the middle of the field. The other safety rotates down to vacate the space left by the blitzing linebacker on the front side. The right tackle picks up the linebacker. The end's free. Like that is, again, kind of 101 of how do you try to overload a 5-man protection? And that's one way of doing it. But as a quarterback, when you're going into year 3 in the NFL, you've got to know this. Like, you've got to be able to see it. The rotation of the safeties, I keep saying that because that's how you're taught as a quarterback. You read the safeties at the snap of the football, and they tell you if there's any pressure. And they're going to tell you what the coverage is going to be, in particular when it's in zone coverage. So the fact that his eyes aren't there for whatever reason, I don't know if he's being coached that way. I'm willing to bet a lot of money he's not, knowing Shane Steichen. So the next step is he hasn't learned the way in which he's got to process, and he's got to, see through into the defense to see what the coverage is going to be. And this gets you hurt. Like when you talk about guys not going out there until they're ready because they may get hurt, especially at quarterback, this is one of those examples. Guys will get hurt because they're vulnerable. And, you're going to have a DNT off on you. He's going to dislocate your pinky on your throwing hand, and that's a wrap. You're going to be out for another week or so.
Can I ask you a question based off of that?
Yeah.
If you're a coach, you've probably run this set in a practice, right?
Yeah.
You've got to be aware of the fact that Anthony plays it the way that he's playing it. I mean, I guess, are you able to stay away from plays that he's insufficient at what he's supposed to do in that set?
I wouldn't. If I was putting together an offense for Anthony Richardson, I would not use many 5-man protections. 5-man protections, because that's only your offensive line, folks. Everyone else is free releasing. So you got guys who are going to look quick if people are blitzing and people are pressuring. But otherwise, it's on you as a quarterback to then determine like how you want to use those 5 offensive linemen. Mm-hmm. So
those free releasers was your tight end and your running back, right?
Well, in that case, it's really your running back on the right side of it. You should be hitting him quickly in the flat. The spot route's going to be there quick too. Warren's running like a corner route. That's your typical, the people call it spot, but that's your typical kind of 3-level zone beater.
Okay,
and use your flat controls, what you want to get the ball to quickest.
Let me ask you this: in this 5-man protection, when you have those releasers and you have the back hitting the flat as your safety valve, don't you need to check like he never looked? Don't you need to check and say, okay, this is going to be a free release, so I know I'm going to have at least my flat. I'm going to have my back immediately. What was he looking at to the other side?
No idea. He's reading the other side of the field.
It's like he was committed to what he wanted on the other side of the field and was willing to wait for it, whatever it was.
And one of the mistakes that quarterbacks make is they make their mind up before the snap of the football. They see something and they say, I'm going to throw this route. I'm going to throw to this side of the field, either because of a matchup, either because there's off coverage, for example. And they're saying, I know this route. This guy's going to win versus that coverage or that cornerback. So they make their mind up because they're just looking for completions, right? They're trying to move the sticks. Mm-hmm. And the problem is with that is then you forget about the protection. And the protection always comes first because you can't throw the football from your back. So that's oftentimes a bad habit that quarterbacks make, especially as they're young or if they're inexperienced. And again, I always go back to the fact that Anthony Richardson has all the tools to be a special quarterback. The problem is he's played so few games. So you look at a play like this last night where he's battling for a starting role on his team. And I can promise you this, like Daniel Jones, he might get fooled by some different blitz coverage, not by this one. I mean, when you have a 5-man protection, and the best thing I can compare it to is like riding a motorcycle without a helmet on. And you feel vulnerable. You're out there amongst traffic, amongst everyone else, and you're looking for any potential danger or some car that's something that's going to hit you. So, he's got to be more aware of everything the defense is doing because it could ultimately impact, hitting him or
which it did.
Which it did in this case, but also just where he should go with the football. Because in a 5-man protection, which I wouldn't call with him in there, you don't have much time anyway. It's only 5 guys protected against most likely
6.
4, maybe 5.
Yeah,
no, if it's 6, you got to throw.
Right. I thought that's what it was. They dropped?
No, they dropped off the backside edge.
Okay.
Again, it's your typical fire zone, blitz. So you drop off the backside end. You're bringing in an edge player. Ajabo should be viewed as an edge player. You should not ever view him as a linebacker because you don't want to put a tight end or a running back on him. Your right tackle should be on him. The defense wins in this case because A, they schemed up the protection,
right,
and B, you have your right tackle picking up an off-the-ball linebacker as compared to Ajabo, which if you're going to get hit by a quarterback, you'd rather get hit by an off-the-ball linebacker, not an edge player.
Yeah.
Well, Anthony Richardson did talk after the game about the injury and what he expects to happen moving forward.
Yeah, no, it was weird. He hit me, then I was trying to make sure I had the ball, and I just looked down, and I see my finger different direction. I'm like, maybe I'm tripping. And I looked at it again, and it was definitely like that. So it's like I got to get this thing popped back in place, but I'm good, though.
How does it feel? Is it hurt? Is it swollen?
I mean, it's a little swollen, but it'll be all right. It's just tender right now. It'll be a little bit more sore in the morning, but I'll be good.
Not a great...
when you dislocate a finger, it hurts.
Not a great start to the quarterback competition.
Not a great question. Hope you feel better, maybe. Does it hurt? Come here. Let me dislocate your finger. Come here. Let's see how it feels. And tell me how it feels afterwards, too. Of course it hurts. You dislocated your finger. Well, go ahead, man. Hey, buddy. Just one more question for you. Does it hurt?
So soon into the game too. First series, and that's just a wrap. And then Daniel Jones comes in, finished out the first half.
He threw for some yards.
Yeah, so I don't know what that means, if this is an indication as to who's got the advantage. It does remind me of something. Did I tell you about the time Lovie Smith was deciding on quarterbacks?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter now, does it?
Well,
tell us the story. How'd it go?
He flipped a coin.
Heads and pinky?
Yeah, he flipped a coin.
Heads and dislocated finger?
But I wasn't sure if you guys knew that story, so just wanted to.
Am I able to turn course on who's going to start week 1? Because after
no,
okay,
no. Hey, I told you. I don't want to celebrate a guy getting injured, though.
Here's what I'll say to you is, when I said earlier, this is how I literally got my start, is my true freshman year, 2003, we open up with Washington State. They run your typical Sam Mike fire zone blitz, right? So they rotate down to that side, the strong linebacker, middle linebacker, both blitz, drop the backside end, play cover 3 behind it. We knew this. They'd run it from an underfront. It was like the biggest tell. And I remember Carlisle Holiday, we were on our own, 4, something like that. They lined up in an under. And I'm watching from the sidelines. I'm like, oh no, here it comes. And he drops back just like Anthony Richardson did. He looks left, never sees it, gets crushed, fumbles, they get the football. And it was at that moment, and I remember the reaction on the sidelines, the reaction from our coach, our offensive staff. They lost faith in him at that point because it was harped on so much in practice, so much in meetings. And it was one of those things where if you can't recognize that, then it was going to be a problem. If you were going to be able to kind of find your tools to fix that. And so that's why now it's like, well, I can promise you this was damning for Shane Steichen and their staff watching this and how it happened. And obviously he's going to be out for a little bit because of how the pinky impacts your grip to a degree, and may not be that long because it's probably the most insignificant finger on your throwing hand. But this will definitely hurt that quarterback competition for Anthony Richardson. This gives Daniel Jones a huge leg up. Because
in a big year for Shane Steichen, he'd like to have the answer who's going to be the starter sooner rather than later.
It's pro football, man. It's not even that. It's like with Kevin Stefanski. Shador could play phenomenal. It's just going into week 1, you want a guy who's been there and done that.
Can't do it.
It's not that he can. It's just like he doesn't have to go through the firsts of everything, of getting into a game and say, hey, we got to scrap this, we got to do this, we got to change this. We're going to that happens. And you want a veteran guy who's been there, who's not going to get flustered by it or not be like, wait, what are we doing? Or how are we doing this? Or he's like, yeah, remember that thing we did week 1 in training camp? We're going to do that now we're going to do this. And it's just, there's a lot. You know, we always act like you can't compare this to like other professions because of the athleticism that's involved. Like, imagine someone asked you to, like, you know, take over for a huge sales pitch, you know, your first, I don't know, 4 months on a job, and you've never done it before. Like, the whether or not the sale actually happens is in your hands, and you've never done it at any point in time, you know, versus a guy who's done it for, what's Flacco on now, 17 years? It's an entirely different scenario. It's an entirely different conversation.
And is aware of their sales pitch. You know, it had an opportunity to be in their sales pitch within that amount of time that he was in there. I think it's a great point.